and it's my very trusty, one of the most essential things, well fed and like nourished. And looking at if you have a baby who's really like, usually there's something on top of that, because especially at the beginning, because it was really hard for him to be away from us when he's playing. When you are exhausted 4 months old, it can be really difficult for you to function. Good morning and welcome to a new video. Today is actually a daycare day, so Oliver's not here. He is actually turning 9 months in a few days, which is actually crazy. And I thought it would be the perfect time to film my newborn essentials. It's so long overdue. It took me a little bit of time to go back to thinking about those newborn days and really think thoroughly of the things that we could not really have survived without, but also about tips of things that I wish we had done differently, or things that really worked for us, and share them with you, because those newborn times, they were all about survival for us, especially the first like 6 months, honestly. The first thing that I wanted to share with you is one of the things that I keep telling everyone that is one of the best investments, because I'm still using it to this day, and it's my very trusty pregnancy pillow. I'm not gonna lie, I use this every single day. When I was pregnant, obviously I was sleeping with this every single night because I'm usually a stomach sleeper, and I found it so difficult to sleep. As my belly grew, I really noticed that I was feeling really uncomfortable and didn't really know how to position myself. When I bought this, I slept so much better. I had it on the couch every single day. I put it around me, like, and when I started breastfeeding, I had it in the maternity ward. Of course, I brought it home, and it made my life so much easier because it's kind of like beaded, so you can really position it however you want. I stopped breastfeeding at around 2 months. I still used it. Whenever I was feeding him, I would fold this on the side, sometimes a few times, and I would just like position myself so that it wouldn't hurt my shoulder whenever I was giving him his bottle. And it was really great, especially for after, because he had reflux, so he needed to be like set up for a little bit after feedings, and it was so easy with this. And now he's 9 months old, so he's eating regular food. He does not need this. I still do. I still use this every single night. I fold it onto kind of the side like this, and I have this part under my knees and this part so that I can rest my arm. If you're thinking about getting a pregnancy pillow, I would really advise on getting one of these. The shape doesn't really matter because you can position it however you want. I saw the ones that look like kind of a rectangular donut or something, and I've heard pretty bad reviews on those. Even this, incredible. Now we're going to move on to Oliver's bedroom because there are so many things. Come on. We're in his bedroom. He actually started sleeping in here when he was 6 months old, something like that. So the layout was not the same in our bedroom, but some things have just moved places. One of the most essential things, this was a lifesaver. He was waking up a lot during the night, but also when I was breastfeeding and I didn't want to have a bright light either for him or for me or for my partner. I heard so many pregnant women rave about having a sort of light like this. So I'm gonna show you. You actually have to plug them in for this part to work. You can decide on the intensity of the light that you want, and if you keep the egg in it, it's actually plugged in, so it's charging the egg, but you have the little penguin who's actually turning on the light. And if you are moving about, going somewhere else, you can just take the egg, and you have 3 sets of intensities, and you can move around and do your life, and it provides a great light, but you have different settings. So what I would do is that I would keep the penguin next to me during the night, and I would keep it on a very low intensity, and whenever he was waking up or I needed to look closely at something, I would turn it brighter. But whenever I was feeding him, I was using the egg because it was easier for me to be able to see when he was latching. But also when I was feeding him in another room, I would bring the egg, and when I was preparing a bottle or something like that, especially in the earlier months, it was so so easy to just bring this. We are still bringing the egg whenever we're visiting family and staying overnight, even like when we're just going for the day and he has a couple naps. That's what we use every single night, even now when we're doing bedtime, but also for naps during the day. We keep the egg around. We're usually on the 2 or 3 whenever we're doing the routine, and then when he's getting ready to sleep, we put it on the lowest setting. This is the best. The other thing that we purchased, but it was more of a later purchase, it was actually when he was not really sleeping and I was losing my mind. It's actually something that I heard about when I was looking at taking care of babies. Purchased her bundle and she was talking about how, I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but I think it makes it easier, like 3 times easier for a baby to fall asleep and to stay asleep using a white noise machine. So we use this every single time he goes to sleep. I think actually he's more of a deep sleeper now that he's feeling better. Like, he was sick for a long time and he's getting older. He really knows how to fall back asleep on his own. So I'm not sure he really needs it, but for me, it's a comfort knowing that I can move about and I can do my life during the day and it won't bother him, especially for naps. But also, like, our room is just right next door and it's actually like paper thin. So even if we're like talking even in a low voice at night or just going into bed, sometimes it can be like a bit noisy, you're moving stuff around and whatever. Knowing that he has this and he can't hear me is so great. And whenever we're visiting family and we're just like in the next room talking and, you know, like laughing and being loud, he has this. I just put it on a higher level near the door, not near him, wherever the noise comes from, and he sleeps. Next thing, it's not very glamorous, but you know, you have a baby and you're changing diapers a lot. I would highly advise on a bin like this that has a lid. First of all, it smells. It smells and it's going to be very difficult to stay on top of putting the bins out and whatever. So keep the trash in, like baby trash, in one place, have a lid. But I would also advise you to have special bags. I don't really know like the specific name for it, but basically you put it in and there's a specific way where you have to turn something and it actually twists the bag so that it's kind of closed. When you throw them out, basically it's like a few bags like this, but you don't really get the smell because once you have put the diaper in, it just folds into a little bag. I'm not even sure I'm making any sense, but this was a lifesaver and we actually are using like regular trash bags just because we run out of the ones that we used before and it's a bit more of a hassle to get them where we live now. Like I mentioned, Oliver really struggled with his sleep. I talked about this so many times because it really made our life so much harder. The lack of sleep was really bad and it kept on going for too long. One thing that really changed the game for us was when I purchased. I was really lucky because it was on sale. The bundle for 5 to 24 months from taking care of babies. It really was an investment. So I wasn't really sure if I should talk about it in this video, but honestly, this is why he sleeps. So yeah, one of the things that she mentioned in it was if you have a baby who's really comforted by having a pacifier and really struggles to fall back asleep during the night whenever it falls off, was to play the binky game. And this actually was so great. I started teaching Oliver to pick up his pacifier when he was probably 4 months old, something like that. It wasn't working like, you know, like overnight. It took a few weeks for him to kind of get the hang of it, but also he was growing, so week after week to learn to turn it around and whatever. When he's in bed, he has about 5 to 8 pacifiers in bed with him, because whenever he wakes up during the night and he wants a pacifier, there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 at hand reach. He can reach for them and I've seen him do that actually during the night. It's so great. And also in the morning, if he slept really well, I will hear him play in his bed and I will come into the room and he will be playing with his binkies. So yeah, that's one tip for you. Another very essential thing, especially if you have a boy, I would say, is to have a different set for your changing mat. Like usually there's something on top of that, but I think he peed on it like 2 days ago or something. He's actually not a boy who will really like pee on you or stuff, but it does happen from time to time. It gets dirty so easily, and we have one with something on top of that, so it's really great because if only this part needs to be washed, we can just rip it out and we still have this cover, so it's easier for us. Something else that we heard so many people talk about when we were looking for what to buy for baby when I was pregnant. And I remember my partner saying, oh, actually, we'll just get like a set of 3. We won't need more than that. And I was like, no, you actually use them for so many things. And I was right. Burp cloth, but like 10. We have so many because we use them for a lot of things. When Oliver was a baby, we would use this to swaddle him. It was absolutely great when he was a newborn. We use them for drying his parts. We have one drying over there whenever we clean his nose. We have a couple in the living room because there's one near his playmat because sometimes he will like throw up a little bit or have reflux or something. And we also have one near his high chair just because sometimes, you know, like when he's eating or whatever and there will be food everywhere. So we have like 4 around the house whenever, and we have one in his baby bag and we have one at my parents'. Honestly, it's really essential. Something that we got a bit earlier on, but we could tell that Oliver really needed one, was an up and down chair. This baby was actually quite a lifesaver because Oliver really struggled being away from us. It was really hard for him to be away from us. So sometimes whenever I was in the kitchen and loading the dishwasher or stuff like that, I would put him in this chair. Also, whenever we would have breakfast in the kitchen, my partner would put him in his chair and rock him next to him. After he grew up a little bit more, I would actually feed him in this because, like I mentioned, I stopped breastfeeding when he was 2 months old. From, I would say, 4 months onwards, I gave him his bottle when he was in the chair. He knew that whenever he was in this, it was going to be like feeding time, and it was just so much easier because, like I mentioned, reflux, and so he can stay upright. Even now, well, now he's more in his high chair, but it's pretty new still because he's just learned to sit. He would eat in this, and then I would keep him next to me, eat myself like for lunch and stuff. It's just like so great because it really allows him to be with us and kind of at our level, and he loves that. He loves being with us. He loves being engaged in whatever we're doing, and it's just like so crucial. A few other things that I can find because we've put away are a binky carrier, like a pacifier carrier. We would sometimes go for a walk and we didn't really know like where to put his binky because we were afraid it would fall off or stuff. So we bought something for hanging his pacifier and like clipping it onto clothes when he's playing, when he's awake, not during the night. I don't like that, but he was a baby that would spit his pacifier quite easily, and those we use every day. Another thing that I would really advise on, especially for newborn, especially when you still have feedings during the night, zip pajamas. Avoid, I would say, buying some that have buttons because during the night it's such a hassle putting that back on. It's just like you change so many diapers all the time, and during the day, you know, you see what you're doing, but during the night you are sleep deprived, you are exhausted, you have a baby who can't wait to go back to sleep or to eat. Just save yourself the task of trying to close pajamas with buttons. The zip, the front zip, like I mentioned, I stopped breastfeeding when Oliver was 2 months old. One of the best things that we purchased, and it was actually my partner who mentioned it, was Mam bottle, like this brand specifically, because of several things. One, they have a great option, like what's the name of it? They have anti-colic one, and they're fabulous. It's a bit more of a hassle to clean, but honestly, it's so worth it. We actually purchased other ones later on because there were like really small ones for newborns. So when he grew up, we had to buy ones that would allow for a higher quantity, and we got another brand. Not great. It's not great because you have to use a specific specific lid inside of it and then twist on top of that to shake, and it's just like so annoying because we've lost some, we forgot some at my parents, the nanny kept one at some point. They're just not practical at all. A last thing that I think we got a bit too late on, because he didn't play with it for as long as we would have wanted him to, is a play mat. We have one which is fantastic, but I think we bought ours when he was 4 months old, and he stopped playing in it when he was 5.5, 6 maybe at the latest, but he only got like a couple months of playing in it because he was like too old by 6 months old. He wanted to move a bit more. He's a very active baby, which means that he really wants to move his body around, and the mat didn't really allow him to do that because of the shape of it. But it was so great. Sensory wise, he was watching the toys all the time. He learned to kick, and that it was moving one of the arch sides and moving the toys. There's a crinkly bit in ours that he loves. When he was moving onto his stomach, there's a mirror on the side. There are things he can pull. It was just like so great and really allowed him to be more independent in how he was playing. Now onto what I like to call survival tips, because the newborn stage was really tricky for us, and it's a lot of changes, it's a lot of things to get used to, and there were definitely things that I wish we had done differently or prepared for differently. But one being regarding food. It was so difficult to cook. We were so tired, we didn't really want to cook, it was so warm. It was something we really had to divide and conquer regarding cooking. We often ate not really nutritious food, and when you're so tired, when you're breastfeeding, if you are, when you're just a new parent trying to stay on top of everything, it's so important to be well fed and like nourished, and to eat food that make you feel good, yes, but also help your body recover from all the changes. And for us, it was just like so difficult that if you are able to, if you have a freezer, I would really advise you toward the end of your pregnancy, cook larger quantities of food and freeze some, because it's going to be so great for you to just like have food on hand to just like defrost and cook, and everything's good and already ready for you. So great. If not, if you have family and friends that are going to visit and ask if you need something, tell them you need food. Tell them, can you bring something like already cooked that we can have for tonight or for lunch, or that we can freeze up. Try to make sure that you have food on hand that's either ready or it won't take too long. Something I really struggled with, and I'm still kind of struggling, is not really having mom friends, because I'm the first one in my friend group to have a baby, and we were also moving, so I was really like moving away from everyone that I knew, and it was really something that was really hard, especially at the beginning, because even in my family, in my age group, I'm the first one to have a baby. You really want to relate, you really want to talk about it with someone who will understand, and I'm very lucky because I do have family and very close friends with whom I could talk about it, and I still can talk about it. But if you can have a support group of mothers with whom you can talk, even if it's online, honestly, make the effort to contribute and to talk and to be open and honest. And it's just like such a difficult time of your life because everything's changing. Another thing would be to carve time for yourself as a parent during the day, because it's so go. It's so, there's always something to do. There's always something that should take priority, but actually the priority should be you, because if you are good and you're feeling great, you will have an easier time taking care of your baby and taking care of stuff. I didn't really do that myself, and I really struggled. I felt submerged by everything that needed to be done all the time, and I didn't feel like I had time for myself. And it's such a harsh transition when you give birth, because yesterday you could have whichever day you wanted to because it was just about you, but then you give birth and all of a sudden you have a little human being who relies on you for everything, and you don't have a lot of alone time, you don't have a lot of me time. It can be really difficult for you to function on no sleep, no me time. Everything's more complicated, everything everything needs to be thought out. And it was like little things. We would make sure to be able to shower every day, so we would have at least like 10-15 minutes to ourselves. It was going to bed earlier so that I could read for a little bit on my own. Little moments during the day that bring you some calm and some focusing time on just you. It's harder than it sounds, but it's so crucial. On that aspect, I would also advise on having specific cleaning and laundry days. The list of things to be done when you are in that newborn phase is endless. There's the kitchen to clean, there are burp cloths that need to be cleaned, you have toys and baby stuff lying around everywhere, you need to make your bed, you need to vacuum, you need to wash the dishes, unload the dishwasher, or to cook some food. There's always something to do. And I found that whenever I would have a little bit of time, I would want to do some of that because I was like, I would have time later. But it actually prevented me from taking care of myself during some of those times. I'm not saying like leave it undone, because it's sometimes even harder mentally to know that you always have something to do, but try to pick specific days when you get things done. It can be every couple days, or you're doing it one day on, one day off. Try to do that just so that you know, like, okay, it's a Monday. On Mondays, we do the laundry and we do a little bit of cleaning. Okay, but on a Tuesday, it's rest time. You have 10 minutes, you are going to take a shower. You have 30 minutes, you're going to read a book, watch a show, scroll on your phone, but it's a time just for you. When I was brainstorming this video, I actually asked my partner like if he had any ideas of things I hadn't thought about that were crucial during the newborn stage. The first thing he mentioned was sleep in different rooms. Yes. But hear me out, like it's not for every couple, I totally understand that, but honestly, sometimes you just have to divide and conquer, and that's what worked for us. The first thing we did was to work in shifts. I was breastfeeding for the first couple months, and actually we were so lucky that my partner had paternity leave for the first month, and because he was changing jobs, he had a full month of vacation time after. So he was at home for 2 months, which is amazing. And I'm French, so we have a different system here. What we learned really quickly was that we both really struggled with the lack of sleep, but for my partner it was really new. I always struggled with my sleep. It was just like something I was not used to, but it was easier for me. Also, you have all of the hormones as a new mother, so it was easier for me. But what we would do was that I would go to our bedroom at around 9:30 sometimes, but around 9. I would read for a little bit, and then I would go to bed at around, and often it was around the time that Oliver needed his last bottle of the day, kind of. Would be anywhere from 9 to 11, newborn. So I would be able to get a couple hours of sleep or a little bit more before he would wake up for his first feeding of the night. It meant that his shift started at around 9. He would go to bed at around, let's say, 11. He would put Oliver in his bed, in his like bassinet next to me. He started sleeping in our bed at the beginning. It was around like a month that he slept in the other bedroom. I would do like my shift from whenever Oliver would wake up, so around like, let's say 1 a.m. and up until about 6 o'clock in the morning. And if Oliver woke up around 6:30, which was really normal for him, he would pick him up and he would take care of the first bottle of the day. Either it was breast milk, or that I had pumped the day before, like the evening before, or it was formula. I would be able to get about 2 to 3 hours of sleep before the first feeding, around 3 hours from 6 o'clock in the morning until 9. So he would get 6 to 7 hours during the night, so that I could get 3 before and about 3 after, and I would also take a nap in the afternoon. It enabled us to get about 7 hours of sleep, the both of us, for like 24 hours, and that way really worked for us. It was like I mentioned, after a month that he started sleeping in the other bedroom because, you know, like the baby noises, but also like when I was breastfeeding and baby was crying and stuff, it would wake him, and it was during my shift. I'm pretty sure I will remember something later on, and it's going to really annoy me. I hope those were really helpful, whether they were tips or things to get for baby, because so many things are thrown at you and you have no idea what to get. So I hope this was helpful. I hope to see you soon. Have a really good day.